All right, so the 29th of March 2025, this is I.C.A.C Unpacked, and I'm Norman Michaelation. This is like take three, so hopefully I can make this work through Zoom. Again, I'm not a great expert at this sort of thing, so doing my best. But I want to share with you today something that is of great interest, and that is how the media twists situations around, taking it from the police without any critical thought, without any analysis, and despite numerous criticisms from people who study this or people who have been impacted by it, and they do not change the way they do things. Um, it's funny. We've got a lot of really difficult cases out there with sophisticated actors who are operating online, the dark and deep web I've mentioned, but also right under our nose. And ironically, we're not investigating it. I'm going to tell one story of a contractor who worked in the Biden administration cleaning up something that the Trump administration did when they separated families. And in that process, his job was to take children separated from their parents and bring them to a facility where they would meet up with foster parents who would take care of them until such time as they could be reunited with their birth parents. Unfortunately, nobody vetted these so-called foster parents, and the foster parents were, in fact, child traffickers. So you have the unique and tragic situation of actual traffickers posing as foster children, foster parents, abusing children who are innocent completely, who are drawn across the border, separated from their families by an administration's reckless and haphazard policy. And this guy is a contractor, and he's talking about this heartbreaking situation where he found out later what was going on. He was actually delivering, sanctioned by the government, delivering children to be trafficked. That's a legitimate area where government actors and trolls and vigilantes should be all over this shit. They should be all over that. But what are they doing? Instead, they're doing things like in this video here. So I want to share my screen. Hopefully I'll do it right. And I want to share a news report of a particular person who is actually, I'm going to share the other one. I think I've got it right here. No, I do not have it right here. I don't know where the screen went now. And it's here, but there's another one. Anyway, I'll have to use this one. Look at the headline here. Look at the headline of this particular, here it is. This is the one I want. Sorry, folks, this is not something I naturally take to, like duck to water. So this is the owner of Phoenix Coffee Shop. This is from Arizona's Family, Your Life, Arizona, right? Arizona News. Owner of Phoenix Coffee Shop sentenced in child sexting. So the founder of Xanadu Coffee spends 1 year in prison, but thanks to a Proposition 101 or something last year in Arizona, it passed. He will be on the sex offender registry for life. Now, think about what I just told you about the real horrible government-sanctioned trafficking, and then pay attention to this particular story. So you have the owner of this sting, and here he is, looking just totally distraught. It says, sentenced to 1 year in prison, convicted of child sex crimes. Okay, got it. Let's look at Peter Valencia's article dated 2 days ago, March 27th. The owner of a popular Phoenix coffee shop is headed to prison after looking to meet up with a teen girl he thought was 14, but was an undercover agent involved in a sex sting. Well, why did he think she was 14 when the article goes on to say that the age listed in the ad was of this decoy cop who said that she was initially 18? And that's what he relied on throughout their exchange. Now, what we don't have here, let's just stop. We don't have the text exchange. We don't know what actually happened. We don't know what happened until she said 14. We don't know what happened there, okay? According to police, through their agents, the press, okay, I can come to you. Can you host then? Denton, the coffee owner, says, no, I'm 14, too risky to host the cop decoy says. After that, he asks, are you affiliated with and law enforcement, a law enforcement? There's a mistaken belief out there among people that if you are, if you say, are you in law enforcement, they have to tell you. That's not exactly true. He says, no, are you? By the way, if you ever find yourself in this situation, police say that all the time. They say, no, are you? So when they respond, you know immediately you're dealing with a cop, or at least you should come with that idea. I'm thinking on it, seems kind of risky, LOL. And they agreed to meet later on. Now, this is the other thing that police will do. They often get you sinisterly, insidiously to bring evidence, bring a condom. And sure enough, he shows up with $250, a condom, and his cell phone. All were taken and admitted into evidence with, of course, his fingerprints, his DNA all over it. So my point, though, is not to teach you how to elude police, but certainly in these things, if you want to pick that up from this, fine. What's interesting about this is all of these details in here. Let me stop sharing for a moment. Why is it, first of all, that the police are doing that? Why are they posting ads on an adult platform claiming to be 18 or over and then going and playing these games? You know, I hear it all the time. Well, why didn't you just withdraw? Why did you go after them? Why are police doing that to begin with? If they were really interested in pimping children or trying to get people interested in children, they would go on, it would seem to me, known child pornography sites that they already know exist, that they busted, because they have done this. The FBI has done this. Take over the sites and then pimp somebody out on those sites. That, it seems to me, is how you would do it. But instead, they do this instead. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you claim initially that you were 18 of legal age and then switch it to 14 right from the start if you weren't up to some kind of shenanigans? Why would you do that? They know how to do it the right way, but you know what? To go on the deep and the dark web and expose these guys, find them, go through their layers of whatever it is that they do through, and I'm no expert, I just know some terms through, you know, torrential downpour and BitTorrent protocols and all that kind of jazz that, you know, more tech savvy people than me know that. Why would you go through all that and then, you know, instead, where you could really put your energy into getting a great return, you take somebody like this and subject them to a virtue test. Did Mr. Denton go on and say that he was interested in a child? No. Did Mr. Denton have any past where he had indicated any interest in children? No. Did Mr. Denton do anything when he went on that site calling out, looking for children? No. And you know that because they surely would have said so in their article. But in fact, he was looking for somebody 18. He responded to an ad that said 18. So why are police doing that? Okay. And that's the language issue we really need to be concerned with. Okay. That's really the issue we need to be worried about. So you have this particular one that I just shared. And let's look at another one and how they characterize this. Okay. This again from Arizona Central. Phoenix coffee shop owner sentenced to jail for attempted child sex trafficking. Sex trafficking? Now we're up to sex trafficking. He was sentenced to a year in prison, and he's a lifetime registrant on the sex offender registry. Does that seem like a fair punishment for something that he was induced to do to begin with? Does that seem at all fair and honorable? This is from Rhea Lee from the Arizona Republic, March 26th. This was the day before the one that I just showed you, where they're calling him a sex trafficker, right? And so now it's talking about this. We've got here let's see, this picture actually is of something completely different. This is an execution, has nothing to do with this case. But lifetime supervised probation for for nothing that he had shown any interest in at all. He gets 1 year, but lifetime probation. Now, folks, I know several cases like this. I know several cases in Arizona, and they always push for lifetime. They've got two cases where they had no actual evidence, but they kept badgering these people and drawing it out in court cases, which costs families time and money and destroys their spirit and grinds them down. And they got their pound of flesh, but they didn't care about the time in prison. They only cared about the lifetime probation. Why? Because if you're on lifetime probation and a lifetime sex offender registry, guess what? That's money from the federal government into the state. Millions and millions and millions of dollars of money over the life of the registry. That's why they insist on having lifetime. They'll sacrifice other things. That, remember, two cases I know they had no evidence whatsoever, no evidence. They had forensic analysts look at the record, no evidence at all, but they wouldn't drop it unless you agreed to lifetime registration. And people are like, oh, good, I don't have to go to prison. I don't have to go to jail. This is great. Lifetime. Well, how bad could it be? Very bad. Because you're under the thumb of the probation officer. You have psychosexual evaluations, you have polygraphs. You have to pay for these things, by the way. You have sex offender treatment. I know a case where they have a guy under sex offender treatment, and because he was not a sex offender, he couldn't talk about the victim, he couldn't do anything. And they said, I know your problem, when he complained about it. You're depressed. So they made him go to counseling for depression, which even the counselor agrees he doesn't have. But he has to go to depression counseling and pay each time over $100. I don't remember the amount, each damn time. So don't think that this is not about money. It's definitely about money. And don't forget, Mr. Denton didn't go on looking for a child, asking for children. We don't have any evidence. Maybe they'll bring it up. Okay? But did not do anything at all to indicate children. And had no predisposition. He was looking for somebody who was 18 and above. And for those of you who say, well, 18 still ends with teen. Okay, the government, somebody else, not me, not you, somebody else, decided that 18 was a cutoff. So you don't get to say, well, 18 doesn't meet with your particular set of approval. Okay, who cares? Me too. Who cares if 18 is what I think, or 19 or 20 or 21? 18 is the cutoff. So when you look at these cases, think carefully about them, folks. Use your brain. Don't allow the police to control the narrative. You don't have to be pro-police. You don't have to be anti-police. How about just pro-fairness? This person is going to be lifetime probation. His life is going to be living hell when he gets out after that 1 year in prison for doing something they never contemplated doing. And yes, as a final aside, did he use bad judgment? Sure. He said, yeah, maybe I'll go for it. Shouldn't have done that. But he shouldn't have been put in that position to begin with. The question is, would he have done it if the police hadn't been there? Remember, he responded to 18 and above. Would he have done it if the police say all the time, well, yeah, of course he would have. That's what we were there. God knows what he would have done if we hadn't been there. If he had gone to the house and the woman answered the door and she said, well, actually, I'm only 18. I just wanted to see if you would be interested in 14. And do you really think he would have gone away empty-handed? If she was into him, if he was into her, he wouldn't have cared if she was 18 or 19, right? The issue isn't about pedophilia. The issue isn't about going after children. The issue is about police burgeoning their statistics so that they can create something. Instead of going after people, like I said in that initial trafficking case, like I've said in the deep and dark web over and over again, that's where they need to be spending their time. In community activities where there's highly suspicious behavior, that's where they need to spend their time. This is Norman Michaelation with I.C.A.C. Unpacked. Have a nice day.